They'll be calling you a radical. So pop culture, pop culture. So this is important. So I need to get this up because all the attention on Michael Jordan and the documentary. That's from the game. So this is important. That's the shot. So I have the food poisoning game. I'm the first one that started calling it the food poisoning game. So I was at that game. I went to every Jazz playoff game from the except man, I had season tickets the first year the Utah Jazz were in Salt Lake. I had the ticket the first game. They were there. I knew Battistone. He would send me and my friends around. The first protest I ever did, we protested them raising beers from $1 to $1.25. That's back when beer was good and they were this big. Now, stay with me. This is important historical stuff. That's the first Jazz playoff game ever. Season tickets were $140 for the year. Nobody went. Blah, blah, blah. So Jordan, this is important. When he was food poisoned. So what's his name was on. Now Patrick delivered the pizza. He didn't poison the pizza. The guys that made the pizza poisoned the pizza. Now this is, stay with me. I'll tie this in. It's real historical stuff. Hopefully Michael Jordan did get this. He was food poisoned. So you don't think Utah Jazz players play like that? Oh, they play like that. Fans. These are sickos. These are wackos. They weren't. Back in these days, they were purists. It's such a beautiful... I always say, basketball in Utah went to shit the day they closed the Salt Palace. Larry Bird said it was famous. The Salt Palace was a gem. Incredible. All the musicians used to love it. Utah was a gem. Turned into the Puritans. I'm flying home from Italy to New York to Salt Lake. I'm in New York Airport and I look over and African-American young man with a hoodie on. I'm like, I look over and I says, what the hell would you be doing flying to Salt Lake? I looked and I knew who it was because I knew him from Brooklyn. When he played high school, I didn't pay much attention to him or the scumbag dirtbag Jazz. And this is important because the whole pandemic started because Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell got COVID. COVID means Kobe. It's a Hebrew word for Kobe. Kobe the 26th. I mean, the natives on this landscape played basketball for thousands and thousands of years. A peach basket, a Canadian. Oh no, right here, Shoshone, Cherokee. They play basketball. It is the mirror. Kobe Bryant. I will quote Kobe Bryant to a guy I know who was a physical trainer for Kobe Bryant, who went to Weber State, blah, 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 who I knew. Kevin. Kobe Bryant's like you. He's a big numbers guy, perpetual, you know, the elasticity of time. He's like you. You got to hear what he talks about. I said, really? I says, well, I know he's a genius. I know he stood up to the machine, told him I'm not playing college basketball. I knew he spoke fluent language. I knew his mother's mind, his stance. I watched his dad play Jelly Bean. I watched his dad play lots of times in San Diego. And his mother's brother. Spoke all them languages fluently. Kobe says it like this, Kevin. He says, isn't it amazing how sport will tell the tale of all these important stories culturally before it happens? My daughter was born that day. That day. That's her birthday. Guess what her name is? She was born in Brooklyn. Gigi. Whoa. That's when I flew back. When I was sitting with Donovan Mitchell. I was coming back from my daughter's wedding in Italy. This is important. So, I tell Donovan, we start talking. I says, you got drafted by the Jazz? You gotta be kidding. I didn't know that. I didn't pay much attention to his college career. You know, he went to Louisville, but I knew about him in high school because basketball, and I've spent so much time in Brooklyn in those days. He probably wasn't even the best player on his high school team. That's the kind of players that come from Brooklyn. Basketball is king, you know. Ask Frank Layden. Frank Layden's from there. Right there. Fort Greene, same place. I wonder if Donovan even knows that Frank Layden was the greatest. When they got rid of him, Jerry Sloan. So stay with me. So this is the dirt bags that the Utah Jazz are. I have probably the best Utah Jazz collection in the world. I have Bobby Sloan's flu game where she said. So he was poisoned. So I told Donovan, I says, you know how they play. I says, these fans are horrible. You don't even want to go. They're horrible. The good fans were forced out. What do you mean? I says, did you see the game when Kevin Durant, at the end when they swept the Jazz in the playoffs, at the end, those two fans right up in his face chirping him? They're racist. I says, right in his face, going crazy on him, and he just ripped in and went 17 in a row. Yeah, I did see that. Well, Donovan Mitchell to Kevin Blanche. Don't feed the line. I says, you're going to be in for it? You're going to get the same, which he did. They did the same thing to Chris Paul. So we sit out in front of the Jazz and we protest. We watch them on the big screen. We protest. We're against them. So the Jazz got bought. We're going to sell. The Miller fan, the kids are not fans. So Larry Miller dies. Larry Miller dies, and by the way, Karl Malone has kids scattered all over this country, including from 15-year-old. That's a fact check. Writes him a check. I can show him. I can introduce you to him. John Sloan's a prick. John Stockton's a dick. I coached for years. My 3-on-3 kids, we won championships all over. We played his kids. The kids went out. We beat his kids. Went over there, and his kids suck. They're no good. My kids were good. You know, went on one argument. He was a dick. So Karl Malone wasn't. He was friendly. Whoa. But anyway, I see you refused the interview, so swipe off Brian Russell. They cheat, but I was at that game. I was there when Michael Jordan doubled back and stole the ball from Karl Malone. He waited the whole game. I mean, the guy was a beast. He was incredible. The best player who ever played in the NBA? Maybe. I don't know. I still say it's Bill Russell or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I call him the three. Him, Michael Jordan, Bill Russell with his 11 rings, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the greatest player if you string out his whole time. So he was food poisoned. There's no doubt in my mind. I'm the first guy called the poison game. So hear me out. This is important because it's dirtbag Jazz. Daughter Stone was the greatest. Larry Miller was a self-righteous phony. You know, fought with Adrian Dowley. Adrian Dowley should be the head coach there. The Laydens built that team up. Frank and Scott Layden created that. They're the ones that drafted Stockton. Why is Jerry Sloan not in the Hall of Fame? Please. He's dying right now. It's dementia. So Jerry Sloan has a lover the whole time. Okay? I knew her. I went to high school with her. Creepiest chick you ever met. Oh, she gave me the heebie-jeebies. Here's beautiful Bobby Sloan that he's married to. They're incredible. Who died of cancer. The arena named the Energy Solutions. Who's Energy Solutions? The nuclear. She's sitting in the Energy Solutions, gets cancer, dies. Jerry Sloan had the lover long before that. Bobby Sloan saved everything. She was the greatest fan in the history of Utah Jazz. Ever. You know, well, the old Puritans like myself, the early birds, we walked away after 98, 99. We had it with them. So Larry Miller dies. Gail Miller marries the attorney. The attorney, they're all fighting. The one son dies from a pill overdose. So the other ones moved to San Diego. The fight goes on. They sold the team for $2 billion. They're moving it to Seattle. Utah gets a legacy trust now that we've turned into the imperialist. You know, remember, we were anti-anything English. We were anti-anything old monarchy. So she could legislate. The good lawyer puts it into the legacy trust. The whole family, nightmare. Can't sell it. They change uniforms every other day. You know, I think the product's horrible. So I was dating a girl 15 years ago from Denmark. She was a language professor. Rachel Johansson. You talk to her. So she wants to go to a Jazz game. I'm like, why? They stink. You know, the whole product sucks. This is when they had drunken Darren Williams and Boozer and Boozer. I used to call him Boozer and Boozer, Boozer to Boozer. Darren Williams wasted all the time. By the way, when they lost the game in 95, I'm at that game. The night before, I was in Wyoming in Evanston betting horses, and he was up there. He was wasted. He'd been up all night. They knew it, the Rockets. That was the best team ever. They left him wide open out there. Doink, doink, doink. He couldn't hit a shot. So, David Benoit. So, he liked to bet horses. I knew him. So, they sell the team. It's a horrible product. So, we're at the game. Battistone used to send us over rounds of beers in the soft house. We weren't even old enough to drink. We used to freaking... The first protest I ever won, we picketed in front of he raised beers. Not only did we win, he lowered the beers, he'd send us around. He was the greatest. We loved him. We used to take a bus with a keg from Ogden, from the old bar on 13th. It was so fun. What a great product. Dantley. They didn't have press conferences. They didn't have all this bling. You know, this ticket right here, I paid $12 for it. You can see it. Excuse me, $15. That's right. I'm sitting right behind the bench. $15. First spot. They won the... Frank Layden was the greatest. I still love him. He and I sit together at Weber State games. This is a great story. Now stay with me. So, Frank Layden and I are sitting together at Weber State. I'm friends with Damian Lillard. Again, I sit right here and says, Damian Lillard will go crazy right before... You can look it up. Before the Kobe Wake game. Because why? Because he never won anything. Because Weber State has a curse on it. He never got to play in a tournament, blah, blah. When he gets on stage, he probably would have been the MVP, gets hurt, freaking coronavirus, Kobe. It's the Wallace curse. So I'm sitting there, and there's some scouts come in. This is when Damian had his broken foot. He's sitting there. He used to sit in the chair and just shoot. I used to throw balls back to him. I worked for a Bagelin, and when a Bagelin died, when Weber fired a Bagelin, the greatest coach they ever had. I'm friends with Randy Rays, you know. So, this scout, Frank, says, what are you doing? The scout comes over to say hi to Frank. He says, I'm looking at this kid from Eastern Washington, blah, blah, blah. And I looked over, and I looked right at him. I says, there's your NBA player. He's sitting right there. This is when he's a sophomore. He had a broken foot. He was going to play against Jimmer. Broke his foot a couple days before. I knew what he was. I never seen anything like it. Until this year, Jerry Carty. And he says, he laughed. Literally laughed right in his face. Frank said, yeah, I'm with you, Kevin. He says, I think Damian's going to play in the NBA. Oh, boy. Of course, he forgot about me. You know, I'll call Randy. Randy says, Kevin, you know his cousin. Debbie, I'm 13 players in Europe. In fact, Vienna won at Zach. Was better than him, but he hadn't work ethic. I said, nobody's got a work ethic like him. He was like Kobe. So, these fans are horrific. So, we're at the game, Rachel and I. And she's 35-ish years old. Beautiful Danish girl. Granted, she probably looked maybe 25, 30. You know, but she's definitely, you know. So, they have beer police walk out, these self-righteous Puritans that took over our state. And the shitty drum, this Delta Center, this Energy Solutions Center, this Vivid is it's a piece of shit. It's the most horrid, disgusting, it's a big tin box. So, the beer police, I go get us a couple beers. Here. $11 a beer. What? I always said the only place in America where the ice cream line is longer than the beer line, the Delta Center. So he comes over. He says, I need to see her ID. All right. She says, I left my purse in the car. I didn't want to carry it, Kevin. What? I'm parked, you know, because they rape you on parking. I'm parked a freaking mile away. You know, we paid a lot of money for those tickets. We're arguing. I'm arguing with the self-righteous old prick. He's about 180, old Mormon, freaking, you know, creep, probably on pills, you know. They're the creepiest people you ever met. Okay, fuck you. So I have to walk all the way out, get her purse, come back, and I'm like, here, dick, you self-righteous fuckhead. You know. I'm sitting right across. I'd scalped a ticket that day. It was a Sunday. I'll never forget it. Here comes this African-American young guy, and he's with this young girl. It was a Sunday. I knew it was probably her daddy's tickets, because they don't go on Sundays. Remember, Larry Miller says, I'm so I don't go on Sundays. They found him peeking around the corner. They're all fake phonies. So, here they come around, and I says, you got a single? Yeah, those tickets were going for $2,000-3,000. You know, I looked at the face value on it. I think it was $80, something like that. This is in '99. This is a great seat. I'm sitting right across from him as he swiped off Russell. Yeah, here. And I'm sitting with some guys from Chicago, some hedge fund guys. Ooh, we paid, you know. As soon as Jordan Brockdown stole the ball, I said, this game's over. What do you mean this game's over? You don't think Michael Jordan's going to hit a buzzer beater? Oh, no, God, oh, you know, they're all nice. No, the Jazz, Rodman had hurt his back. He wasn't going to play in Game 7. The Jazz would have won it. By the way, Karl Malone, everybody dogged on him. You think about that game in Chicago. The Jazz just fell apart. Jerry Sloan was the most predictable, worst coach the Jazz ever. I mean, he sucked. Phil Johnson, who I'm friends with, and I'll talk about that in a second, and coached at Weber. So, of course, he drops the shot, swipes off. The Jazz had Chris Morris guarding MJ. Chris Morris was long. He was so good, but Sloan didn't like him. I used to play blackjack with Chris Morris in Wendover all the time. That dude was so good. He had such a great series. It was unbelievable. Couldn't get over him, but he refused to play him. It was the stupidest move in basketball history. You got Brian Russell guarding. I see he wouldn't do an interview. I wouldn't either because he sucked. He was a... what a joke. So, then they go to Stockton, which he always went to Stockton. They guarded them. That team played defense, blocked the shot on Stockton. Jazz franchise says, this franchise is over. I knew the franchise was over. The next year, I remember I was at the Spurs game, and the Spurs, somebody come down the lane, just blew the Jazz. I says, this gig's over, Karl Malone. It's over. You know, I knew it was. One little play, one little nuance. So, this girl, Jerry Sloan, Bobby Sloan dies of cancer. She marries, she's a gold digger. Creepy, creepy. Jerry Sloan was a hardcore alcoholic. Sit at Green Street every day, passed out, and just scream at people. He was the biggest dick who ever walked. Everybody hated him, including players, including me, dick. You know, you think I say the F word? Sure. I mean, but that's why I did. Great player, by the way, great player. So, this summer, somebody tells me, hey, she's auctioning off all her stuff. And so I'm like, really? She's auctioning off Bobby Sloan's stuff? So I show up, these people show up at this auction, they don't even know what they got. They're auctioning stuff by the boxes. She saved everything, everything. So I'm going to people, hey, what about, so the Michael Jordan flu game and the Michael Jordan shot game, Bobby Sloan's seat. Some girls got it. Some dudes got it. I'm like, they don't know what they got. You know, they're looking at autographed shoes. I says, how much you want for that? I'll give you $30 for that ticket. Give me 50. I didn't have hardly any money. You know, I've been broke. So I bought the ticket. So then this girl comes to me, and I've got these dates in my head. Well, I bought this box. I says, well, which key dates? I knew when Karl Malone scored 60. There's Bobby Sloan, the greatest fan. How much? Give me $30. So I got it. You know, so my point is, they're dirtbags. They ruined that product. The NBA, Kobe Bryant. As culture goes, now think about this. COVID means Kobe in Hebrew. What does Kobe mean? Oh, it's a steak. No, Kobe means greatness in Japanese. Kobe Bryant spoke multiple languages. I remember when he says, that was against the law, remember? We got to make you go to college. He said, I'm going to college. I'm 18 years old. I can read the Constitution. I know I have the right. And he stood up to their face. You know, probably the greatest trade, maybe one of them in basketball history. You know, the great Jerry West, who's in your top 10. By the way, who's number 4 greatest player? That'd be Wilt Chamberlain. Let's review. The top 3, Michael Jordan, Bill Russell. The only reason that Wilt Chamberlain isn't number 1, I mean, he only averaged 50 points a game. You know, talk about a beast. By the way, I have the program when he scored 78. 3 players scored 60 points in one game. Probably the greatest NBA game in all history. I bought 30 years ago. You know, I want to donate my collection to the Utah Jazz. I've gone to the. I have the best collection probably of anybody. They're not interested. None of them are interested. I'm like, really? So Bobby Sloan. So I ran into Phil Johnson at Beglin's wake at Weber State. I'm like, Phil, you know they're auctioning off Bobby Sloan's stuff, blah blah blah. His wife, he says, yeah, she don't give a shit. I says, yeah, she's creepy. Gold digger just stole. I mean, it's disgusting. She died of cancer. By the way, I have leukemia. Energy Solutions. I used to sit with her. She was the greatest. What a fan. What a beauty. I said, why doesn't the Jazz care? Oh, they don't care. You know, this attorney's got control. The kids don't give a shit. They're just all fighting over the money. I mean, here's the other thing. When he bought the Jazz, he loan sharked the money. It was dirty junk bond money from Denver. And he was paying weekly interest on it. Here's Spencer Eccles, the Eccles fortune, Jr., which didn't inherit. I mean, he inherited, never worked. He's clueless. He's a rhymeless bunk. He's a guy sitting on the front chirping at Donovan Mitchell. They wouldn't give him 5 cents. You know, the Miller clan. Stockton and Malone. By the way, Larry Miller screwed Stockton and Malone over every chance he got. And that's well documented. Everybody knows it.
What's that basketball?
Here. You want to hold it? Got it, ain't it? Here, I'm getting the video. Back off. Don't steal that. Oh, there you go. Go play with it. Don't be bouncing it around, baby Kev. So, I want to set the order because I know people who are involved in the whole Pizzagate, as we called it, before there was Pizzagate. They food poisoned him. Didn't work. I was sitting up behind him. I'll never forget it. In that game. My brother, that pizza. I told him, I'm like, oh my God. We weren't listening to television, radio. I remember I shook Julius Irving's hand that day, Dr. J. He was doing the clip. What? By the way, again, Weber State, Willie Sojourner. I'm a walking, talking encyclopedia on this. Willie Sojourner, who played at Weber State, who roomed the Virginia Squires first year, best man at Dr. J's, what named Dr. J, Dr. J. Willie, I knew him really well. So, it's amazing. It's incredible. They sold off this. It's cultural. They destroyed it. So I know people in this whole pizza dynamic. You know, my friend Todd, he can verify this. We know people that work there that says, oh yeah, they poisoned it. So I'm sitting at the game and I'm like, oh my God, look at him. The Jazz they've even the series 2-2. They're going to win this game. They're killing them at freaking halftime. Chris Morris, you know, God, what a player he was. You know, Antoine Carr, and then they just blew the team up the next year. I can get into that. So, I said, he's got a towel over. I said, Jordan's sick. I can see it. I'm sitting right up behind him. He's puking. He's got a towel. He's sick. Probably his greatest game. Well, I think it's second grade. Well, the greatest basketball game ever played is the game that Chamberlain had 78 points and 39 rebounds, and Elgin Baylor, I think, had 63. You know, I have that game program, but I want to donate the whole thing. I need money for my activism. Thank you, everybody who supported my activism. Sport and culture, the same. Kobe it's so significant that he died so tragically like that militant star. But he was just interested in money. He's iconic. He didn't stick to any of his, you know. Remember when he pushed Karl Malone? Karl Malone was so good it was unbelievable. But he played for Jerry Sloan. Give me that team with Stockton and Malone. I'll have 7 or 8 or 10 banners flying up there. I'll have multiple chances, including this year, '95, when Benoit was drunk and couldn't hit it in Game 5. I was in the Salt Palace, and the Rockets won. The Jazz should have won it that year. They should have won. They got a curse on it. Energy Solutions, Wattis. So he was definitely poisoned. There's no doubt in my mind. Didn't work. Backfire. That's what happens to these killers. So I want to donate it to the Jazz, my collection. I want to make a deal with the Jazz or the NBA if they're for anybody, you know, that'll put it in a public space. I have the greatest basketball collection probably in the country. I collected it since I was a little kid. Since I was a little kid, you name it, I got it. So I need money, and I got to do it. Do that, I'm gonna have to start selling it off piece by piece. So I have Bobby Sloan's flu game. I have the K game. I have, you name it, I got it.
You don't have.
I have Kobe Bryant's book.
You don't have Michael Jordan's first game.
No, I have some games from when he was a rookie. I wish I had that.
Evan, it froze.
What froze?
The camera.
No.
It now got back on.
Oh, you playing games with me?
Froze for 2 seconds.
Oh, I'm 23 when you said Michael Jordan. That's number 23. Kobe 8-24. So I'll leave it at this. So I know Damian Lillard. I'm doing the play-by-play. I got fired from a free job, blah, 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 because of my activism. So Damian Lillard comes over to me. They're doing half quarters at Weber State. And I'm like, Damian, show him how. Walks out. First shot from half court. He hit like 7 in a row. I sent something to Damian here a while back. Well, his agent, you can't get 2 minutes. I said, Damian, do you realize what date? You know, Damian goes crazy on the Kobe weight game because he never gets the platform. They were ahead by 22 points at halftime at the Weber State Big Sky Championship game, which happened, that was 2010, exactly the moment that Fukushima happened in 2011. 1 year to the minute. They're up by 22 points at halftime with Damian Lillard on the floor. I never seen that. A guy named Johnson, Anthony Johnson, never missed a shot. I have that ticket. Never missed a shot. Never missed a field goal or a free throw. It was the creepiest, craziest thing. And they come back and beat him. He never did it once. He never before. After the game, he said, How'd you do it? And he says, I had an out-of-body experience. I told you the place is cursed. My angel that comes to me. I grew up right there where the arena is. Don't feed the lion. So.
No, he's not actually, he's not selling his stuff. He's not doing any of that.
So.
And if you even try to
He
take
says
any
he's
of his
not.
stuff, I'll slap you silly.
All right,
Or
sorry.
Phil.
I know, all right. Sorry, boss. So, anyway, don't feed the lion. Kobe Bryant's death. It mirrors culture. Damian Lillard probably would have got the MVP this year. Kobe Bryant hurt his ankle. It's the water's curse. It's the water's curse. So, he was definitely poisoned. Greatest players who've ever played the history of the game. Bill Russell, Michael Jordan, NBA. We're talking professionally. How about Rick Barry? Well, but Bill Russell, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Those are 1, 2, and 3. And I just group them 3 together. Who's 4? Will Chamberlain. Who's 5? John Havlicek. I have Kobe Bryant's book that he wrote in 2002 autographed. I have that. I got a long time ago. I bought his 82-point game autograph from a woman. She still hasn't produced it for me. Many. That's a long, complicated story. She cheated me out of it. So, but anyway, so I wanted to get this up because all the attention on MJ. You know, I have an autographed Dennis Rodman poster in your room, huh, Junior?
Nobody's taking that from me.
I know that. So.
You're not selling none of yours.
I slept with Madonna at the game. I have a tale to tell. So I remember me and my wife at the time, they had a contest, Madonna and Dennis Rodman. All I did is put my glasses on, some sunglasses, put my hat backwards, and untucked my shirt, walked around, and I won. Yeah, we ain't shit. So anyway, what a beast he was. If Sloan would have played Chris Moore's Garden, MJ, we wouldn't be having this conversation, would we? But he didn't. Sloan sucked. And she sold off all this stuff. Just this summer. I didn't have any money. You know how broke I've been. But
I'll give you
it's very
some
sad.
money. Don't sell any of your stuff.
All right. Stan Doonan. By the
Better
way,
not buy.
that's who should be the coach. Adrian Dantley. What a
You
player.
guys
Oh, my God.
better not buy anything.
He saved that franchise. Battlestone was the greatest. The old Cell Pulse was the greatest.
If any of you buy one
They ruined the
thing,
sport.
I'm
I'm really
you.
disgusted with Donovan. He forgot about me. I tell Jared Carding all the time, when you're a superstar in the NBA and you win multiple championships, don't you forget about me. Oh no, Kev. Oh no, Kev. I love you. Blah, blah, blah. I interviewed Jarek right before he broke the all-time record at Weber State. You can look it up. In the Weber State Library, just by around here. I'm like, you doing it? Yeah. So we're friends. I says, I got a hunch you're going to go crazy tonight. You'll probably break the record. You're the best player ever played here. He scored 25 in the first half. He's all that and then some. He's the greatest player ever played at Weber State, and that's saying a lot. So, anyway, I want to put it up. He was definitely poisoned, and I can get into and I can name names. So, as the Utah Jazz gone, the state's gone. The sport sucks. It's pathetic. It's an overpriced nightmare joke, and then Rudy Gobert gets the pandemic to start. I mean, it's all tied together because Kobe, the elasticity of light. Again, Kobe, he stayed on his side. He changes his name from 8 to 24. Not Donovan Mitchell, excuse me. I know Donovan from Brooklyn. Damian Lillard. Do you realize what day your tournament was at Weber State? Oh yeah, it's August 24th. 8/24. Kobe.